feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Thursday morning. It's March 19th after the Wolves' 36-point win over the Utah Jazz on Wednesday night. The Wolves are now 2 games into this chapter of the season that they are going to play without Anthony Edwards while he recovers from his knee injury. Got Britt Robson from MimPost here with me. And Britt, I thought we'd just start by discussing some themes from these first 2 games without Ant. I mean, I made a list of a few things: Randle, Bones, ball movement, Rudy around the basket, Ayo and Kyle. But I just want to start kind of with you and kind of give the listeners what your thoughts have been over these last 4, or if we could rewind 48 hours to prior to the Phoenix game, prior to knowing, or I guess the moment when you found out that Ant was going to be out for a bit, kind of what you were thinking about this team at that moment and sort of how that's arced over the last 48 hours.
I thought it could go either of 2 ways, obviously, but one is that there was in some ways less pressure because they are less expected to win if they don't have their best player on the floor. And I think that less pressure in that type of setting, they were under a tremendous amount of pressure. You could just tell by the way they were playing the previous 4 or 5 games that they were letting the pressure get to them. You could tell on the court and just the way they made their decisions, their interactions. And so I thought there was the benefit of, if we lose, it's because we don't have our best player. The flip side is, of course, that it could get really ugly, that they already were playing badly as a team, and now they don't have a guy who bails them out in the clutch, who is basically bails them out whenever the offense is stagnating in the half court, and can play an invigorated defense. Obviously, one of the 10 or 15 best players in the NBA, to put it mildly, and missing that guy would hurt. I thought the litmus test game would be Phoenix. I expected, even without Ant, that they would win Utah and probably win tomorrow night against Portland. But Phoenix is an interesting team. They play hard. It would help that they played the Celtics, who are a very physical team, the night before. But that win over Phoenix, I think, loosened things up quite a bit. So those are my 2 thoughts. My 2 thoughts were, let's see if not having Ant kind of frees them up in some weird way, or whether or not it puts them locks them right into the tank.
Yeah. I mean, the reason the Phoenix game went in the Wolves' direction, outside of it being the 5th game of 6-game road trip for Phoenix, a couple guys injured, and it being a back-to-back for them. But the Wolves
they played well.
They played well too. I mean, that's Julius. It was the sort of extension of the Oklahoma City
Julius
game, which he
played.
played.
The bench, right?
Yeah, and Bones and both the games. I mean, I know the Utah game's a little whatever. It's kind of
but it
stained,
right.
but it's the same things that happened against Phoenix,
right?
Whether it's Ayo's player, Kyle's player, Bones' player, Randall's player,
right.
They sustained, and they were the things that you were hoping to see.
Right.
Without Anthony Edwards in the mix.
I think they just needed clearance. They needed to wipe the slate clean from a really ugly stretch of basketball. I mean, the kind of stretch of basketball that makes you distrust a team. I still don't trust this team because they were not only beaten, they were haughtily beaten. I mean, the Clippers just put it in their faces. It was an embarrassing defeat. And so I don't think you come back from that right away, but you have to get clearance from it in some way, shape, or form. And losing Ant kind of a make or break moment, I would think, within the locker room, as well as, that kind of binary way I thought.
That's what I was interested to see when I was walking to the game, and I was, going to go into the locker room before the game. I was like, I wonder what the vibe is going to be here. Cause I didn't know, was it going to be opportunistic of jump on this, or was it going to kind of be like, this is getting wobbly, and I don't know. I mean, it seemed like a pretty confident group. It hasn't seemed these last 2 games being there like a downtrodden group. It's kind of been like, which I think is true, the belief that even without Ant, they know that they can beat a lot of teams. I was thinking about this. Do you think what do you think the Wolves record would be, or where would they be in the West if Ant didn't play this season? Like if he went and played baseball for a year.
Right. Well, again, it's just a cascading set of circumstances that happened.
I'm just trying to quantify how good
they'd be a
they
play-in team.
Yeah, like Portland. I was thinking like maybe better than Portland, like kind of that level.
Yeah,
there.
I think between like 38 and 42 wins, right around 500.
I think I would even go a little bit more than that. I mean, obviously you've fully removed from like contender.
They win 51 games this year or whatever. Yeah. That's still 10 games. I think that Ant is worth 10 games.
And I do too. I just think there's something like unique about Julius, your number 2. Being like he could pretty easily scale into a number 1, but for a very mid team. Yeah, exactly. Which I think would have does kind of. And also,
do you have Ayo and SloMo all year? Do you rely on the kids? Is Dillingham still here, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I guess I was more thinking about it from like this, like with this group right now that's playing
with this group right now. It's still some things still need to be sorted out, but the sorting. First of all, they have the trust of the coach, and that is crucial. And secondly, they have that trust for a reason. They are weight-bearing players. You don't worry about SloMo and Ayo crumbling.
Right.
You worry a little bit about Bones, but that's because he has such a volatile skill set that he's prone to crumble and to thrive. You know, I mean, so but I do think Chris Finch feels a lot better about the bottom of his rotation, and I think that translates into a type of calmness that is going to help. I also just think that Rudy's got more allies, which is always important. So much you hear about playing the right way or the wrong way, and it can be really overrated. You know, I mean, players who supposedly don't play the right way still manage to get some pretty damn good results. So you wonder if there's a lot of things as we're not playing in the NBA, so we don't know really why the wrong way gets played sometimes.
Not yet. Yeah. We're not in the NBA yet.
That's right. I've still got a couple of years of eligibility left, I think, before I throw in the towel. But that said, Ayo and SloMo play the game the right way, play the game the way coaches like it to be played. And I think that there is enough volatility among some of the other members of this team to make that important.
Right.
And so if you had that without Ant, if you had that core and you had Julius as your ostensible number 1 guy, that would also pave the way for McDaniels and Nas to be a little bit more open with their offense. You know, again, I can see play-in team, and then maybe even a dangerous play-in team, but a play-in team.
I do want to talk with Randle, but Chris and I led the other one. We talked about Randle a lot in that game. Let's talk about SloMo and Ayo.
Yeah.
Because those are arrows moving in the right direction, and they're new arrows, right?
Yes.
Over 16 games for Ayo, and for Kyle, it's probably 8 or 9, something like that. But both, to your point, seem to be fitting into the idealized role that Finch had for them, and showing the capability to fill that. I mean, you and I were pretty much both aligned, and just a general belief in Ayo, curiosity about how it was all going to fit, and also a general belief that, Kyle wasn't going to come back to this team and be a washed up, extremely different version of the player he was 2 years ago. I think we both came in optimistic about both of those, but those are both kind of very much feel like they're clicking in Finch's image, which makes sense because they seem like Finch players.
Exactly. And the beauty of Ayo is that he does things that the team needed a lot. Jaden McDaniels is tired of the wing stopper role. You can tell that it wears him down more than it used to. It's not his only badge of identity now. And I think this is going to sound worse than it is. He takes less pride in that than he used to because he has other skills that he flexes at the same
Even
time.
on defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so having a guy be able to take Devin Booker for some of those possessions or being able to take Shea for some of those possessions is really important because it frees McDaniels up whether or not he's in the game or not. He doesn't have to always be matched up with whatever the guy coming off the bench is.
Mm-hmm.
And not that Ayo is fantastic on-ball defender. I've seen him take some bad angles, and I've seen him try to adjust. Finch has said that the defensive adjustment has been a little funky, and part of that is the difference between playing with a Gobert out there and a Vucevic out there, and then the difference playing with a Randle, Nas line, learning the weird idiosyncrasies of that group defending the paint.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a learning process. But he's been the goods in terms of he's not going to get undressed playing a top flight wing scorer. And that's very, very important. And then you know how I feel about pace. I mean, I've been banging the drum on pace probably for the last 2 months. I think it's extremely important for this team. And nobody epitomizes that in an intelligent way more than Ayo. I mean, Bones does too, but Bones can get carried away. And a lot of what Bones will do, there's a delay. There's an ecstasy delay when Bones does something good that affects the next play sometimes. Whereas Ayo is mostly about business.
Right.
And so I think that's important too. Pace is a two-way street. Pace means that you collapse the distance between your offensive and defensive transitions as well.
Right.
And Ayo does that really well. Probably better than anybody since Vando, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. It is good to bring up Jaden in the context of Anderson and DeSumo because Jaden's just like pulled up right now his like EPM chart and it's for the last month it's a declining slope. And certainly in the last handful of games it has
chief among the miscreants in the 5-game debacle.
Yeah, so I'd say that to mean like I don't not even to really super go into Jaden. I obviously don't expect that to sustain. I don't expect this to be Jaden's new reality, but because Jaden isn't a super duper star, he's not like consistently playing at an extremely high level. And there's
and he is on offense, his role is still at the mercy of other people's decisions.
Yeah.
And I got to think that,
and that leads to some volatility.
He's like a 6-year vet. That's got to be getting old.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who has shown what he can flex, and somebody will say, okay, well, why can't he do it consistently?
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting to see what would happen if he were the regular number 2 or number 3 option with the requisite responsibilities that brings.
Mm-hmm.
I would be curious to see how that would go. I'm not guaranteed that McDaniels will give you 20 a game, or even necessarily 18 or so, but I would like to see what happens if that were the case. And I think it's somewhat unfair, just like it's unfair to kind of get at Nas's inconsistency. Both of them have roles on offense that are clogged. I mean, you have 2 ball-dominant players that you play with, and then you've got other guys who do not handle the ball well, and therefore cannot be in the ball movement chain as well, speaking specifically of Rudy. And then you don't have distributors anymore, although I got to say last night, Ragu played point guard as well as I've seen him play. Again, you know, terrible Utah defense, easy to do. But the point,
but making the reads, doing the stuff, you know, I mean, it was clean. Yeah.
Bounce passes to cutters. I mean, that's a point guard move.
Yeah.
So, and some of that, he was 0 for 8 the night before, and he's not dumb. He understands. He doesn't want to come out and start chucking right away. He wants to get into the game. The point being that Jaden, probably as much as anybody on the team is affected offensively by how the team is functioning. And when the team is dysfunctional, Jaden is either going to step to the forefront and be a standout, or he's going to shrink and disappear.
Yeah. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, and with March Madness here, there is a lot going on over at Prize Picks. First, during March Madness especially, check your promotions tab on Prize Picks. There'll be a lot of bonuses on there this month for Profit Boost. I put together a lineup last night for today's action with a 40% profit boost. But then there's also those free squares. You know, we've talked about those before. For example, in today's Duke game, Cameron Boozer's square is free. If he scores a point, you win that square. You'll see those all March. But yeah, just in general, you're going to be watching these games, and maybe at some point your bracket might bust. Well, at Prize Picks, you still have the opportunity to pick, predict, and play on these tournament games all month long. Of course, that's in addition to making lineups for Wolves games this weekend as well. You know the deal. There's always something going on over at Prize Picks, and now a lot more with the ability to do futures, point spreads, and all that on the teams tab. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up. You'll see $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane. I'm actually glad we brought up all three of Jaden, Naz, and Dante in the context of SloMo and Ayo, because those are the guys that they're coming in for.
Yep.
Right. And they just provide a little bit more of a floor to the volatility that comes with all three of those players. I had this down. I was going to ask it later, but whatever. I'll do it now. I wrote down my notes, like 16 games into the Ayo era. How do you view him as a future piece of this team? And specifically, I was thinking about it through the context of like an eventual decision perhaps needing to come between him and Dante. You figure Ayo signs a 3-4 year contract extension this summer, and now he's locked up long term. And then Dante, going into next season, will be in the final year of his very cheap deal that just sort of kind of by like happenstance of timing of when the contracts come up, it's sort of like just scoping ahead, leading to be one of those where it might end up being a decision you have to make. Kind of like we knew you were going to this summer need to make a decision between Nikhil, Naz, and Julius. I feel like one of those is probably going to be coming down the line, and not even, I mean, Ayo will get the contract before Dante. I guess Dante could sign a contract extension this summer as well, but it seems like an interesting inflection point of this team. And if they are forced to, or if they decide to choose between the two of them, that being, what are just general sort of thoughts on?
Well, I don't think there's a loser in that. I think they're both really good players and really important players. I think I've been impressed by the way Dante's played this year, and the way I think he low key, maybe even not so low key, lobbied to be a starter at the point guard. I think that they got off Mike. Obviously, they needed to, but it was unknown at the time. And Finch had hinted in my pregame interview that the Dante playing time thing became an issue. So I think Dante presses in. When I asked him about coming off the bench a month ago or so, he got huffy and walked out, So, I mean, he cares. He cares about that role. And if you're going to bully your way into a role, then you better thrive in it. And I think he has. So credit to him.
And the answer here can also be that both of them are just a piece of this long term.
The reason I would go with Ayo is two reasons. One is age on timeline. I think that Ayo, I think, is a couple of years younger, maybe three. Yeah. And that's that second timeline that I'm most excited about. It fits right in with Naz and Jaden and Ant and Johan eventually, perhaps, and whatever. And then the other reason is he has a contagious enthusiasm and a style of play that Dante does too. And Dante is a scrapper like Ayo. So again, I'm not dissing Dante, but I think that the way Ayo plays fits with Jaden and Ant and probably Johan. And I also think he has the capability of being a leader on a team. One of those guys who is respected for how he goes about his business and doesn't speak up often, but when he does, is really listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he's one of those guys that commands respect. I think he already has the respect of his teammates. And I just think that there's no substitute for some guy who's consistently busting his ass, who is also well-spoken, voluble, and tenacious. He just fits. And ultimately, it's going to come down to money probably, and it's going to come down to situations.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to get off Randle at the end of this year or not? If they can. Do they want to get off Rudy at the end of this year or not? If they can. If not, and the Wolves say they're out in the first round or whatever,
yeah, there's other ways to repurpose the roster in this time rather than making a decision between those two.
And
guys.
I mean, it is kind of fun to watch these two in the backcourt together because you have a situation where you are much more of a equality-based backcourt, both in offense and defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Ayo is not shy about shooting. In fact, less shy than Dante right now. And he's doing really well. I mean, he's still hitting over 40% of his threes, upping his percentage of, twos. A lot of them are short mid-range rather than at the rim, but they're still very accurate. And I like the balance in the backcourt right now. Not to say it's superior to having Ann out there, of course, but I like the more community-oriented dynamic rather than the pecking order dynamic that happens out there now. And I think that can be something that can work into a second unit rotation at some point in time, with one of them staying on the floor while the other people come in and stuff.
I think it's so, like, thinking about this team, big picture and roster construction, we talk about all this stuff about, like Randle or Reed or, like specific choices between players. And I think sometimes I lose focus on like what the team is overall and what the team needs overall. And I think Ayo and Dante are a good example of that. Just the importance of shooting on this team. One, around Ant, right? That's just logical. He's attracting two all the time. You want a 40% shooter, one pass away from him as much as you possibly can. And by having Dante be that and Ayo be that, that's a huge value in the Ant context. And Julius, I would relate that there as well. Somebody to pass to who's going to hit on volume there. But also on a Rudy Gobert team, and maybe in the not so distant future, a Johan Berenger team, you are going to be playing at all times, maybe with one non-shooter out there.
Right.
And, I've been thinking about this a lot with Kyle, and when he's playing and his minutes are really bad next to Gobert and really good when he's up, not really good, but a lot better when he's been out there with Nas, Julius, or Nas and Julius, the shooting lineups, right? And I think for me, the reacclimation of SloMo is reminding me of the value of these shooters that this team has, and the versatility that it allows you to play with.
That it has now.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Mike Conley went away. Everybody says we're missing his playmaking, but we're missing his 40% behind the arc.
Sure.
Nikhil was high 30s.
Yep.
Close
Volume.
to 40.
Yeah.
And you're replacing that for a while with Jalen Clark, Terrence, and Rob Dillingham.
Yeah.
Three bad shooters from outside this year. And then you had Randle just go in the tank after like the end of November. And so you had a lot of people who couldn't shoot. Nas, when his three disappeared after January 31st, that felt too. fortunately you had Dante and Ant, and Jaden McDaniels has been a surprise in that direction to kind of take up the slack. But that is, again, why transition has been so important, because they were getting a lot of efficiency on half-court threes, moving the ball around and hitting open threes, and Conley was great at that, whether he was the point guard or just the quasi-off guard. And so having Ayo be able to do that along with Dante, and having Kyle be able to recognize open shooters and getting it to them at the right time and the right rhythm, which improves their accuracy, all those things are important and will help the Wolves offense. And, if you're looking for silver linings, not being able to rely on somebody who constantly bails you out does make you more innovative and hopefully more resourceful and creative in terms of your efficiency. And again, Utah's a terrible test for this because they were so bad they didn't care about defense really. Portland will, and certainly Boston will. And, there will be opponents coming up that will, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes from there.
Yeah. To what degree it sustains.
Exactly. Yeah. Whether or not we're seeing like a lot of false positives right now because of the competition.
And I don't even really care if they're false positives, because I think they're rhythm setters.
You're right. Exactly.
And which was needed more than anything for this team. And I think to move over to Julius, that's what he needed more than anything, is just to kind of it seems like to just feel it again, feel like, what does this highly functional version of myself look like in this team? It feels like something you almost forgot.
Right.
Or like the team forgot.
He forced it. I mean, when Julius is not going well, he plays in a crowd and he bully balls successfully enough for him to think he does it better than he does it. And so he does. How many times have we seen Julius force what looks like a 50-50 call, not get it because he forced it, and you can't call that all the time, and then throw up his hands while everybody's running down the court. I mean, it just happens way too often. When he does that, whether he's right or wrong, he's already made the wrong play. He needs to get rid of it much more quickly, and he needs to reposition. And what I've noticed is, and he's hitting his three a little bit better right now. I think some of that has come from repositioning. He doesn't seem to be quite as diligent about playing in a crowd right now. And I do think part of it is that I think he feels like he's probably going to get the ball back more often than he was before when Ant was on the court. Yeah. So maybe he trusts that ball movement a little bit more. But for whatever reason, and he's made a few in a row, which is always what all players, they get better.
But especially him, man. I mean, that if there's anything I would say that perfectly encapsulates Randle, if I've learned in these 2 years, is it's like when I look at his basketball reference page and that season that he made All NBA, he shot 41% from three. And I'm like, that's an All NBA player. And if he was shooting 41% from three this year on the 5 attempts that he takes, he might be, all-star, when I was talking about.
He carried the team in the first 4 weeks of the season. Yeah, it was because of exactly that play.
Yeah. Now the question is, though, as always with him, is which teams are you doing this against?
Yeah.
And these last two games, Phoenix had nobody to guard him. I mean, Royce O'Neal was the guy on him, and then it was somebody from the Jazz the whole time.
6'6", 215 is what I looked up how big Royce O'Neal was to figure. All right, does Royce O'Neal? I know he doesn't have size. Does he have weight? No, he does not.
Yeah, I mean, Royce O'Neal was the best perimeter defender on that Utah Jazz team that was bereft of perimeter defenders
imagine Royce 5 years O'Neal ago. Rather than the other guy being the one that Jordan hits the bucket over.
Byron Russell.
The stand-in for that Utah guy 15 years ago.
It's more than that. Utah. So I'm saying this, if the Oklahoma City game hadn't have happened, and where Julius played really well against a team who does have strong guys for guarding him, I think it'd be easier for us to dismiss this rhythm or just production that Julius has had.
Right.
But like the Oklahoma City game happened.
Right.
And now I know the competition hasn't been great the last 2 games, but he has at least sustained it. It doesn't give me full confidence that come Sunday against Boston, he's just going to be able to take on whoever's guarding him. But it's like, I'm trying to like find this middle ground with Julius where it's not this overreaction into like, okay, he could do it against anybody. Right. It's an expectation, but also not dismissing the fact that he played well against Royce O'Neal. Like both of those things are important.
And I hate to beat the drum on, actually, I love to beat the drum on this, but the way that high usage Julius Randle becomes a pleasant player to watch is transition and pace.
Yeah. Even pace in the half court, man. Like even just zip, zip, zip.
Exactly. You know? Once he makes quick decisions and once they have like a 3-on-2 and he recognizes it or something, or even if, you know, whatever it is, when he is on the move and sees teammates on the move, his decision-making is not thought-oriented, it's instinct-oriented, and his passing is more accurate. And I do think he is so much better a face-up passer than he is a back-to-the-basket passer, you know, where he spins and then does the last-minute, you know, bullet pass to somebody. It's a rhythm killer. We talked about rhythm on offense and Julius needing rhythm. When Julius is out of rhythm and he's trying to get back in rhythm, everyone else is out of rhythm because Julius is out of rhythm. And that's one of the reasons he's so unwatchable when he's not playing well, is because he's flailing, obviously, and what looks like selfishly, while everyone else is standing around watching him. And it's a bad look. And yet, when he is on the go and he gets the outlet, he's one of the best guys to get the outlet, like right at midcourt and bring it into the half court with other people running with him. That is when he's a really good passer. And also when every now and then he'll take it himself. Every now and then he'll take it to the point where he draws more defenders and kicks out.
Yeah.
That's the Julius Randle you need, just like you need.
And I don't feel like that is actually totally been here the last 3 games either. I think that's the reason for optimism that it could be even better than it has been.
And the same thing with like getting a big that Julius decides he can guard. I mean, Julius Randle can play like an all-star. He can be, as somebody who's ripped him fairly consistently during his time here, and tries to give him the benefit of the doubt, the more ripping him has not proven to be successful at different times. I watch him a lot, and the best versions of Julius Randle are in transition on offense and bodying up a very capable big in the paint. Those are the two.
Just isolation, even if it's one-on-one. Yeah.
Whether it's Wemby or Zion or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, he's living on that Wemby fourth quarter in your mind.
Well, I mean, to get under Wemby without fouling him,
yeah, it was good,
is not easy. Nobody else does it. Right. I mean, they don't. You know, there is something about the way he can play. It's a lot like Ant. Ant's ceiling on defense is phenomenal. Julius's ceiling on defense is not phenomenal, but it is way above average. Yeah. And to have that guy play way above average defense, especially when it matters, and that's usually when it happens, when he really, you know, gives a shit.
Dude, he has fast feet. And he's big. I mean, just kind of like think about that. If you were attacking at Julius Randle in isolation, and you're even a guard, and you're like kind of like a quick guard, like if Julius is locked in, he can move his feet with you. I mean, the block of Shea at the rim is a pretty good example of this one. Like he can move his feet with you, but also like if he beats you to the spot, like it's Julius Randle at the spot. Like that is a fire hydrant. You know what I'm saying? Like there is, I'm saying this to mean like he has the physical profile
Absolutely.
do these things in ways that like Cat did not, right? That was Cat might have had the physicality, foot speed between Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle is night and day different. That obviously Carl was better at the rim, better as a low man,
and a more willing defender, which means a lot.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm. I think an advantage or a benefit of Julius having a strong, high usage close to the regular season, which I think he is very clearly going to have, is you get him kind of feeling like he did at the end of last season when he came back from his injury. The Wolves go 17-4 the rest of the way. So much of that was Julius. And I think then you just have a little bit more of a bought in Julius Randle, a better attitude Julius Randle. And I think that is like literally the most important variable outside of Ant's health entering the playoffs, because Julius, if you have him more bought into this, functional on offense, even once Ant comes back and his mind is right, that is going to make a world of difference for this Wolves defensive team, because whoever they play in this first round series, I said this before, but like in the first round playoff series, Julius is going to be guarding like their primary option. Jokic, if it's Denver, Wemby, if and when they were to play, that wouldn't be the first round unless it follows 7. Durant probably for Houston, and then like LeBron for the Lakers. Huge defensive assignment in every playoff series for Julius Randle, and I think his offensive rhythm begets his defensive rhythm.
When you talk about Julius's attitude,
never have. No, just kidding.
He gets isolated when he goes into a little cave,
There's something almost a little sad about it.
Yeah. But it definitely is, it's protective and it is defiant, and I don't know how he has to change it by his play. I haven't seen any other reason how like it gets better. I mean, it isn't like Joe Ingles can't come up and cajole him out of it.
No, what swings it is 12 of 17 from the field, and
exactly right. Yeah. So I mean, and given the fact whether Timberwolves fans like it or not, he is such a key piece to the gap between their ceiling and floor is so dependent on how he plays. And you're right. I mean, they are, unless a spectacular, flop occurs, which never put it past them, but the Wolves are not going to be in play-in. They are more than likely, although as we speak today, they are hosting a first-round game, given the fact that Denver lost last night and the Lakers beat Houston. They are now hosting Houston 4-5 matchup. Yeah. But given the schedule that they have and the one Houston has, I would not expect the Wolves to stay at 4. And I think the Lakers proved me wrong anyway. They are on a roll that I did not expect from them. Hats off to them. But the point being, they are going to be in a situation where they need all hands on deck playing well to even make it a competitive first-round series.
Yeah.
And Julius Randle has to be right and has to be healthy, and all the other components have to fit into play. But the Julius Randle piece is the piece that feels like it's in nobody's control but Julius Randle's,
And I think he knows that. That's at least doesn't mean he always acts on that, but I mean, I do think I don't know. The other version of him knows that, right? And does understand it, but runs into the frustration. Toward the end of
last year, I feel at home here. I've now found my role on this team. I really like this team. He's always loved Finch, but he had a lot of really, really kind things. Now, of course, it was a contract, but at the same time, I do think
that was genuine. Yeah,
the money he took shows it was genuine. I mean, I think he didn't browbeat people, and I mean, the amount of money he's making at the very least, is correct value, and I think it is good value for the Wolves.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he had a lot of other suitors this offseason. Part of that was, market factors. But yeah, he just basically extended at the same number that he already had the player option for.
After a distinguished season.
Sure. Yeah. I still think it was the best deal that he had.
Could be.
He had out there for him. I'm 99.9% on that one. But that's still a choice. Like,
yeah,
he probably he could have gone and got something similar from elsewhere, but I do think he knows that this is the best role, the best opportunity for him in the NBA. It's like the high usage version of Kyle Anderson. Like, obviously the best coach in the NBA for Kyle Anderson to play for. Maybe the only coach in the NBA who would play him seriously. Like, more than 15 minutes
3 or 4 others since he left.
Yeah,
they weren't doing it.
Exactly. So I think for both Kyle and for Julius, this is the coach that will give them the most opportunity to play the best version of themselves. And I think they both know that. I think Julius has to maybe remind himself sometimes of it, but to your point, what reminds him of it is when it's rolling like it has been these last 3 games. Today's show is brought to you by Falling Knife Brewing Company. Falling Knife is the place to watch Wolves games in Minneapolis, where the sound will be on the TVs. But this Saturday, I want to let you know that Falling Knife has their annual All Sorts market happening from 1 to 5 p.m. The All Sorts market is what it sounds like. All sorts of different vintage and collectible and art items being sold at the market at Falling Knife. The weather is supposed to be really warm on Saturday. I saw a high of 70. So you might be getting out of the house anyways this Saturday. Make it a brewery Saturday and get out to Falling Knife for the All Sorts Market. Again, that's this Saturday, March 21st, the All Sorts Market at Falling Knife Brewing Company from 1 to 5 p.m. And if Saturday doesn't work to get out to the market, there are games Friday and Sunday. And for the rest of the season, they're always on TV, but the sound on at Falling Knife. Watch Wolves games with Wolves fans at Falling Knife Brewing Company. Let's move over to the next thing I've written down, was just as another theme, was to kind of put a few things together, is Bones better passing as a team and pace. That those seem to be huge themes from this run here. And for sure Bones is definitely for a long time fueled that pace, but I also think he's grown in his ability to not necessarily lead, but be a guard in a offense that's moving the ball a lot better.
Right. He's trying really hard on defense, which is important because he's not a good defender. And that effort, he can't be such an obvious liability that you can't play him because his offense is important. And when his 3-pointer is on, I mean, he's 7 for 15 from 3-point range in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And that is a huge difference.
But I'm on theme with whenever Ant's been out. I mean, his production, specifically his 3-point shooting volume.
That's a good point.
Is up when Ant is out.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I mean, that's what I said. He's poor man's Ant. That's his role on this. That's what's been the whole year. The little 12 minutes when Ant sits every game. That's been Bones's time to play like Ant, which obviously Bones Highland can't do there.
But at least
with pace,
try to use Ant's usage.
Yeah, use his usage and inspire offense in the way that Ant inspires offense for his 36, 38 minutes a game. And I think over the sample of the season, that hasn't been completely bankable from Bones. You don't just get that.
That's a slight understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, Bones is like a penny stock. It'll go way up and then, it'll come back down, but still probably a good investment, because again, you're not going to break the bank on him at the same time. And he's easily disposed of for a game. I mean, if Bones is shit in the bed, then put him on the bench, and he understands that. But when Finch said this in answer to your question a couple of days ago, what you get from Bones, and he says, there's always the prospect. He's like Dante. He can bury 2 or 3 threes in a row, and then he went out and did that, and then he went out and did it again.
Yeah.
But even when Ant was healthy, the last, well, not healthy, actually. He was hobbled. But Bones has had a little bit of a positive impact on this team and a little bit of a heater ever since, even during the terrible stretch. He had some really good times.
Sure.
And was a rare bright spot during that 5-game stretch. How long it will last is anybody's guess.
Do you think he'll be on the team next year? Bones?
It depends on what he wants. If he wants to get paid, no.
Yeah.
If he loves it here, like he seems to, and Tim Connolly pulled him out, drafted him and then pulled him out of the nowhere.
Yeah.
He seems like the kind of guy that would be grateful about that. He also seems like the kind of guy who wants and needs to get paid.
Well, I mean, needs to get paid. Like, to be fair, like, does need to get paid in the NBA context.
He's certainly worth more than $2.3 million or whatever it is now.
Well, he was a non-lottery first-round pick, I think. So kind of like a Terrence Shannon Jr. was his rookie scale contract, which is just not that much
he
more.
He never got a big second deal.
No, he got traded. So I would think you're right. Money for him will.
And if that's true, then I say no. I just don't think the Wolves can afford it.
Sure. I mean, and I don't know what that price point will be at all, but I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the Dante versus Ayo thing.
Yeah,
because, again, as we learned with the Nikhil experience, it's like you do eventually need to like pick, right? And you need or guys leave, and it's about bringing up that next guy. Right. And if Jalen Clark or Terrence Shannon Jr. would have been able to be that next guy for Nikhil Alexander, this team has a lot more wins this season. They needed that, and I think with Bones, if you were to have some sort of massive like roster reconfiguration this summer, Rudy or whoever, like guys have gone out, and now and maybe in one of those moves, Dante or Ayo went out or something, and now Bones can kind of click into maybe being just your seventh man or your backup guard, your Ayo sort of role. Like,
right.
I mean, I never would have been saying this 6 months ago. It would kind of seemed like this would be what Bones is doing right now is the most that he would ever be. But given the Wolves' money situation, even paying him a little bit would be less than what you were going to be paying Dante or Ayo for sure, by a long shot. And maybe there's economically some logic in that.
I would make that a significant fallback option. I bet if you wait and look around the NBA, you're going to find a better way to get that seventh man than Bones.
Mm-hmm.
And no knock on Bones. I just feel like he's just too light on defense, and he's just too volatile on offense.
Well, that's why the playoffs is going to be so important in determining this answer. What does he do defensively in the playoffs? How bad is that? Is going to be telling.
And I think that the longer he sees himself embodying a certain role, he may push it over. I mean, his desire to fight people now is not, somebody is going to break him in half someday soon, and
I love it.
It's
the Valanciunas one was the best.
Huh?
The Valanciunas one, that was the best. That was the best. No
punch
fear.
You in your chest. No, but what I'm talking about is there is, and he's so far he's pegged it pretty well in terms of it being kind of the right thing to inspire the team or get everybody going or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I watched him when Rudy overplayed the fact he was hit in the head when, in fact, they eventually called a flagrant foul because somebody pulled his arm down. Yeah. Bones was ready to go after whoever Rudy thought may have hit him. I mean,
well, and when he got into the thing with Sensabaugh yesterday, the one thing I noticed, like right after that, after the little skirmish went like cleared up, I saw Jaden like go through the pile of people over to go dap up Bones, like, which was a little out of character for Jaden, but he was like, yeah, I don't know.
I know.
I mean, I think that stuff within reason is actually really valuable. And even just from a trust factor and with your teammates and all that.
It is a razor's edge to walk, I think.
Yeah.
And
you don't like the idea of Bones Highland enforcer.
I just think that Bones Highland irritant is incredibly circumstantial. It cannot be, if his instincts are off that day, it could go very wrong. Yeah. And
he's moody too.
Yeah, he is moody. I do think that he's become a fan favorite for a very good reason.
Celebration.
But only the joy with which he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays with joy. And, we talk, you and I are huge basketball, the inner game of basketball people. But fortunately, I know this is true of me, and I'm very confident it's true of you. The joy of the game still remains. There is an aesthetic portion of it. Watching players play with joy remains one of the great things about seeing these incredible athletes up close, because joy is like the great result of competition. If you're, people always say the way you know a competitor is because they flip over the chessboard if they lose, or checkers, or whatever game, or demand to play again. No, a great competitor is somebody who just fully revels in the idea that they have won.
Yeah.
And when it is legitimately rendered, it's a lot of fun. And one of the things that Bones is really good on instinctively is knowing when to celebrate something. I wish he would get back a little faster, but it is a good timing when he does it. And as we continue to talk, we need to remember that this guy was nothing at the beginning of the season. I mean, he was almost overseas. Wondered why he was on the team. I guess, one of those guys that's going to be added. He could have been, like a quasi Zion pulling, Yeah. And so he has become important enough where you were seriously thinking about him down the road as perhaps a seventh man, given some of the roster construction.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're banking on it, but the idea that you even raised the possibility shows you what this team, the fissures that have happened in this roster, but also what Bones has been able to do to rehabilitate himself as a player and as a role player in particular, and as a mood enhancer. Those are all, there is enough Joe Ingles, Mike Conley, sages. It's good to have a joker.
Yeah. No, and Finch has talked about the importance of joy with this team, specifically for Ant. Ant has talked specifically about loving to play with Bones. I mean, that's like there's there is a common denominator there. It'll be, I don't know. That's obviously getting out ahead of our skis with the free agency decision there. But yeah, to what you said, like it is that we're even thinking about it is a sign that this wasn't just like some Nepo hire, but Tim Connolly, Bones Highland
or just
relationship.
One of Tim Connolly's, fixations.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's what we thought it was.
Yeah,
that's what we thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still that, but it's also proven to be
right.
to be more productive and frankly, another Tim Connolly fixation that went bad was Dillingham. This is at least a little bit of a counterbalance.
An atonement.
Yeah, for real. It's it's made a difference because this team needs that. I like what you said, like in determining what we really feel about him, about how much he's worth getting paid. I think you need to see him in the playoffs.
Right.
And then I do think it would be interesting to get an opportunity for an extended period of time, not just a game that he plays 20 minutes, but like if he got an opportunity like Ryan Rollins got at the beginning of the year for the Bucks, where it's just like injuries. Okay, here you're starting.
Right.
I would like to have seen that at some point this season of just like here you go, Bones for 5 games is playing
Right.
25 plus minutes a night there. And that would show me a little bit more of like, at least be a hint of what it could look like scaled. We're not going to know that, but that still exists as a possibility of something that like could happen and he could have success in. He just sounds very much like a guy who should be on this team in the future if you can afford to keep him. And that's a major win.
As long as his shot continues to fall at a reasonable pace, because his defense, I mean, there are certain guys, I always bring up Al Jefferson, which, I mean, like 80% of the viewers go, who, So, but Bones tries really, really hard. He does all the right things on defense in terms of his effort. And sometimes he just gets, steamrolled. And there is something, he's got length, but I see his length helping him on finishing shots. Right. I don't see his length helping him. Actually, occasionally he does get his hands up and get, both width and height. He can use his wingspan, but he plays light. Yeah. He plays at what looks like a very light. He looks like he defends like 180 pounder,
Yeah. I wrote down one note underneath him, and I was thinking about this when I knew we would talk about him, I wrote down Bones Hyland plays for opportunity rather than playing entitled to an opportunity.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
You know what I mean? Like
because it's his generosity of spirit.
Yeah. Right. And he's not taking like the opportunity for granted,
right.
When granted. Whereas there's pretty much every other player on the Wolves that at some point this season has appeared entitled to opportunity, to more shots, entitled to the ability to not have to try on defense, entitled to not have to be accountable for X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's that entitlement. I think of a lot of the group is what's beneath when we say immaturity. It's an immature group or a moody group. And Bones doesn't have that entitlement because he wasn't an entitled kid when he got into the league. That was stripped from him, and now he's back fighting for it.
Absolutely. And the thing I would like to emphasize is that has already been tested twice. Getting Ayo was a ding on Bones, and getting SloMo was a ding on Bones. Yeah. Both of those, you looked at that roster and you looked at the rotations and you went, okay, this could cost Bones.
Yeah.
And briefly, when SloMo was getting that time, Bones was the guy whose minutes more than anybody else's were getting cut into. Because I remember thinking Finch can't play SloMo as many minutes as everybody thinks because somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt. As it turns out, Bones is the guy who gets hurt when that happens. Right. But here he is again. There's injuries and there's inspired play, and he didn't bitch. And he kept his head down, which is one of the reasons when he kind of got shuffled aside when Clark and Shannon and all these guys were getting cycled through as the 7-8 guys in the rotation. They finally said, well, this guy continually busts his ass in practice and looks good and has never done anything but, try hard and do what we tell him to. It's time to give him run over Dillingham.
Right. Today's show is brought to you by Factor. And when I am busy and when it's cold outside in the winter, grocery shopping and finding time to cook is tough. And that's why in our household, we do Factor every winter because Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. So I eat well without the planning or the cooking. These are quality functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. There's no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and there's no refined seed oils. But there is variety, 100 rotating weekly meals to keep things fresh and delicious throughout the winter. Options include high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready-to-eat salads. The meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready in about 2 minutes with no prep and no stress. I really do use Factor, and I think you should try it out too. Head to factormeals.com/DaneMoore50 off and use code DaneMoore50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while the subscription is active. Last thing I want to get to as a theme of playing without Ant is Rudy and the dominance he's had sort of on the interior these last 2 games. Same sort of disclaimer that Julius's performances require of just, I mean, both of these games I wrote down before the Phoenix game, like the path to winning the Phoenix game was playing through Julius. They had nobody for Julius there, and for Rudy to dominate on the interior on offense and defense, because they didn't have Connor Waits there either. And that was the path to winning these 2 games. And I think we could talk about Bones and SloMo and Ayo and all that, but like Julius and Rudy are your 2 best players right now. And it is like winning is incumbent upon them enforcing their will and talent that they have in these games. And I think in a very much Rudy sort of way, he got his version of the 32-8 that Julius has been doing. And it's
19 rebounds and then 12 rebounds. 19 against Phoenix was very important. The 12 against Utah, he could have had more. Yeah, but he chose to get.
That 12 was up there early, like in the 3rd quarter. I think he was.
And also, I mean, they were looking for him. He was scoring early. Always a really good thing.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Because it was like the first time we really got into with Finch and the players, the Rudy dropping the ball.
Yeah.
In these situations, John asked Finch about it after the game, just sort of like the possessions that don't work with Rudy, and how his players handle those possessions. Oh, we were sitting there, one of the ones that Rudy biffed under the basket in front of us last night.
Yep.
I said, "Do you see Jaden there?" Because he biffs it, and Jaden just chucks his towel up in the air. I mean, the guys don't like disrespect Rudy. Like it's not like that. But some of those reactions, or when Julius passes to him or Ant passes to him and he drops it, understandably, the players kind of have a little bit of eye roll body language. So anyways, John asked Finch about that, and Finch said they know not to look to me for sympathy if Rudy drops one of their passes, because sometimes he's going to. I tell them to keep throwing them. We have to. It pays off more than not. I'll take some of those turnovers if we're trying to make the right play. And this is a conversation we've been dancing around for a couple of weeks. We were talking about that before, of like, what is Rudy's impact in the aggregate? If you just treat the possessions where he loses the ball as just like a missed shot, rather than what it feels like, as just like an unathletic basketball play. That's what Finch is talking about. In the aggregate, it comes out positive. And even with him dropping passes, Finch is saying the numbers say we should pass to him more in those spots, because when he catches it, it's often a dunk or free throws.
His record the Wolves' record when he shoots 8 or more times in a game is something like 15-4. I mean, so there is something to what Finch is saying. As to how it feels, I do have some empathy for his teammates, because an assist at the, on the play is, if you line up somebody for an automatic bucket, then it's going to be, if the guy misses the shot, it's one thing. If the guy literally fumbles the ball away when you've hit him in rhythm, it just has stone hands.
Right.
And again,
and that's a live ball turnover. It can be more costly, but it's normally around the basket and normally functions kind of like a miss.
What makes it so crazy is it's almost like there are games where you would think Rudy wears contact lenses and he doesn't have them in. That for that particular game. There are games where his hand-eye coordination just goes away.
You know what I think it is? Thought about this. I think it's because he didn't play other sports when he was growing up. Like you develop, he has hard
hand-eye coordination, right?
It's like soft hands. It's like if you play baseball growing up, like you develop soft hands from fielding grounders, or if you played like wide receiver, like you realize, like if Rudy were to go play football catch right now, he would catch with his hands out. He wouldn't, I'm serious though. He wouldn't like bring it into his body. Like, and I've actually asked him if he played other sports before. And he did like track and field growing up. I mean, he's from France, this wasn't a thing, but like this is going to sound bad, but I think even subconsciously in a little half-second moment, he's scared of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Well,
what it is.
he's afraid of failure.
Yeah, I think it's afraid of failure, but so it leads to an anxiety around catching the ball and like an even greater stiffness to his hands. So it's not a softness to his hands, and that's just a reality. Like you can't go back in time, and the stupid theory I have of like putting him at third base to field some grounders, and like that's not going to happen or work. Like this is what Rudy is from a hands standpoint. You can give him confidence, and I think that helps his hands a little bit. But the reality of the situation and what Finch is saying and what Kyle Anderson said after the game when we talked to him was like, it is what it is. We need to deal with it and not let it impact, because it's going to be like, he's going to keep dropping passes at the rate that he's dropped passes the 4 years that, he's been here. I think it's a little up this year, but that might be a confidence.
And if you do treat those turnovers as missed shots, the guy who's leading the NBA in field goal percentage at like 74% suddenly is shooting 66% or something. It's still pretty damn good. I mean, but there is, it gets back to, we just got through talking about the joy that Bones plays with. Aesthetics play a part in basketball and in the emotions of basketball too. If somebody is on a heater and is joyous about it and goes and celebrates with you, you are going to celebrate. Yeah. There is the inverse of that, which is if somebody is incredibly clumsy, despite your best efforts, he's going to bring you down. Yeah. You're going to feel bad about what's happening for a bit, and it's an aesthetic thing. You can argue quite logically, as Finch does, and I just did, 66% from the field, counted as a miss. But it's more than that. It's a corrosive attitude thing that happens. You don't want to, and immature people like D'Angelo Russell take it personally and make it personal with Rudy. Mature people like SloMo say, hey, this is who it is. I show him the ball like I'm going to shoot, and then I push it to him. And then there are people like Jade McDaniels who, towel throwing aside, has learned really well how to, he knows when Rudy is actively able to, Rudy is full of hope that he will get the ball. And if there is that hope and he does get the ball, he's far more likely to finish the play. I notice when Jaden feeds Rudy, and he feeds him better than anybody, perhaps including SloMo, it's logical basketball plays. It's like an interior pass because he's right there, or a lob. The other night when Jaden was coming in from the baseline and just threw it up and then kept cycling through while Rudy slammed it through. It's a basketball play that Rudy logically said, this is my play. And Jade says, yes, it is, And that's the way. If, on the other hand, you're running toward the basket and suddenly you're getting doubled and Rudy's man is off you when you give it to him, it's not necessarily an expected play. That's when Rudy's going to fumble it. Because he's not really saying, oh, this is my play. He's saying, I better go get the rebound in case he misses.
I was over in the SloMo scrum after the game. Were you over with Rudy?
No, I was with Rudy.
You were with Rudy?
I actually felt bad. Everybody, Rudy and SloMo started at the same time. Yeah. And I said, and Kyle's ready too. Well, we talked to Rudy. And
that's why
Rudy turns a 4 minutes scrum into like 15 minutes. He is somebody who will go chapter and verse, which means that you have a really good idea of what he's thinking about already. SloMo, we don't hear much of. We haven't almost heard anything from since his initial reactions about being here. Yeah. And he's always really, really bright and original in terms of what he's saying. So, of course, Kyle's ready too. And John, the good soldier, stood there and asked him 2 questions. So we would say, all right, I talked to Rudy. And then he bailed. Yeah. And then the TV cameras bailed.
That was just you?
And then it was me. Well, it was me and one other person for a minute. And then they were gone in the middle of my question. So it was one of those things where Rudy and I just both said, this is. Neither one of us is really getting anything out of this, are we?
Well, I was gonna ask what he
all the
talked
great
about.
SloMo stuff.
No, it was just I wanted to go talk to him about like Rudy related things, which was just the minutes that he's playing with Rudy.
Yeah.
Because I think that those can be toxically dangerous and have been
Right.
From a shooting and spacing standpoint. Thought it was interesting that like they've shifted how they're using Kyle in the minutes that he's out there with Rudy. Like, this.
Right.
2 years ago when Kyle was on the floor with Rudy, Kyle's playing out of the corner.
Right.
Right. And it's because, Mike's was typically out there or Ant or somebody else playing point guard. The shift that they've made now when Kyle's out there with Rudy, because it's 2 non-shooters, is they're having Kyle play point guard, like point guard,
Which
initiate
is
it.
the best possible way to make that work.
Yes, but it's not work. And in a very small sample size of like 100 possessions on offense,
it can't work against the Thunder very well. That's for sure. Or teams that pressure the ball.
Yeah,
I mean, SloMo remains. He's really tall and can pass over pressure, but it also slows the game down, which is what pressure defense is designed to do.
Right. Jake Painting did a great thing, like breaking down how like
cool.
This was like a week ago or something, how like disappointed in Finch for playing Kyle and Rudy together, given what we saw before. And I was kind of like nodding along to the Jake thing, and I'm seeing the same stuff. But I do think it's important for us to not just go of like this didn't work and it was problematic from a spacing standpoint 2 seasons ago when Kyle was here,
right?
Because it at least the chessboard has moved around, and that's what I wanted. Sorry, long way of saying that's what I wanted to talk to Kyle about. Of like, this is
you're
different.
not trying to shoot open corner threes. You're trying to
run pick and roll
pass.
Yes,
and interior passing is what he does really well. Shooting corner threes is what he does horribly.
And what he said was, I feel like I've been looking for Rudy too much in those when he's read it.
Well, and that makes sense.
Yeah. So I say this to me, Finch is going to continue to play him. And people like Jake rightly pointed out of like, okay, this is showing a lack of boundaries that Finch has around SloMo, which like, again, kind of agree with, but we do need to see if this pick and roll chemistry, kind of like when they would play, when Ant would sit at the beginning of second quarters and fourth quarters in previous years, the Wolves offense at the beginning of second and fourth quarters became Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert pick and roll, right? Empty corner pick and roll all the time. That's what they would go to. Now we're trying to see if that can be something with Kyle. It hasn't been thus far, but it needs to become something if you want to play Kyle in the playoffs alongside Rudy Gobert, which I think Finch is going to do no matter what when the playoffs come around. So it'd be good to develop.
It's got to depend on the matchups and Ant's health. I mean, I think the point guard necessity, the ability, I agree. I mean, I've thought this since SloMo's been back and getting minutes. He just wants a soporific, a guy who turns everybody into like calm, rational, almost robotic players on the court rather than crazy run around people. That's the way that SloMo enacts on his teammates. And that, by the way, is a way that Gobert will probably be most coordinated.
Right.
And also they'll run sets. And as you pointed out, both Rudy and SloMo do run pace. They can play good pace if they're out there with the right people. And sometimes Finch has Nas out there and another fast guy out there. Anyway, I've noticed that it was odd when the Rudy SloMo duo were out there, that they had a couple of guys who went go-go, and I think that helps both of them.
Because they're not inspiring pace on their own. You know, Kyle might kind of be like, let's go, let's like run, like verbally saying, let's play faster.
But also, by the time they get down there, it's, things are scrambled.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think this.
Look, I'm not endorsing it, and I hope that it doesn't happen often on the playoffs unless they're playing teams that are not really. I don't know the best circumstance for it, to be honest with you.
Well, I think it's about trying to survive the minutes when you don't have your main guys out there and trying to be neutral in those times. And probably, like, I think a lot of
that's
that
when you need to step on the throttle.
But the question is, do you have the personnel to be able to do that?
I think when you have Nas and Ayo out there, it can't be bogged down in half-court sets. Because even though you have a really good point guard in SloMo for that, it's not a point guard on the perimeter surveying the whole floor, and it's not a self-creating shooter very often. So it's a very limited point guard.
Well, it's like, I mean, SloMo will create his own shot some in there.
But he doesn't finish well.
Yeah, I was going to say, and those shots end up coming from like 7 feet or closer as he kind of just twirls himself
and they're
around.
ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they go in, but I mean, it was funny the other day where he hit a 3, but he took so long to get it at the clock.
Shot clock violation.
It's just so classic. I think it can be said that the impetus of using SloMo as a point guard in half court and semi-transition situations is not a bad idea. But the idea of trying to use it in settings where Rudy is expected to be a part of the offense, otherwise why have it be that way? Is problematic, especially against good, smart, roving defenses.
Yeah. Today's show is brought to you by Harry's, and I think it is so great that something like Harry's exists, because I remember back in the day, it was always brutal to need to go to the store to purchase a new razor whenever you needed one. And I remember those razors being so expensive. I think in addition to it being a high quality razor from Harry's, I think the best part of Harry's might be the price point. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany. So there's no outsourcing, no middleman. And because they control the entire process, as they call it, from steel to shelf, Harry's keeps the cost low. Why pay $30 for refills when Harry's gives you better blades for a fraction of that? They just sent me a new handle. You connect the new blades to the handle when you need to replace your blade. And I just kind of like that it's a weighted sort of metal. Its handle, it keeps it, I don't know, it keeps it feeling like fresh and new, like a barbershop quality shave, as it is with German engineered blades. If you don't love your shave, Harry's will make it right. No questions asked. A risk-free trial means there's zero downside to give it a shot. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/DaneMoore. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/DaneMoore to claim this offer. And after you purchase the last SKU where you heard about them, please support the show and tell them we sent you. The line I would draw for sure is never Anderson out there when both Randle and Gobert are out there, because now you're turning into like 3 non-shooters in a way. I mean, Julius is a willing shooter.
Well, not only that, but
it really bothered me 4 or 5 games ago when Ayo picked up his 3rd foul midway through the 2nd quarter. And this is pre-injury. And they brought in SloMo. And I'm like, okay, what? Ayo has 3 fouls. He's a bench player. Like, did you need to do that? And puts him on the bench and brings in Kyle Anderson to play with Rudy, Julius, and I don't remember who the 2 guards were, but it's like, okay, and that's where I was with Jake. I was like, okay, there's no parameters behind who Kyle plays with and doesn't play with. I'm willing to give, I mean, I am giving an excuse to these first 5 or 6 games of like, oh, Kyle and Rudy are figuring out their pick and roll chemistry, but the numbers are atrocious in the Kyle and Rudy minutes.
And you need a roll threat. I mean, you need a ball handler threat on that pick and roll.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson is not a ball handler threat. If by that you mean he's going to score if they double Rudy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure even an open 8-footer from Kyle is necessarily your best outcome there.
Well, I think it's a backup option for even him. He's not going into that 8-foot range looking to take that shot. He's like, I hope somebody comes available to pass to. Okay, no one's there. I'm going to shoot it. And he makes some of those. I mean, like a 0 there, but yeah, you
There's
can tell
got to
it's
be a
not
better way. And the better way is transition, is to run Ayo, Bones, and Nas out there at the same time.
Mhm.
If SloMo wants to join that party, fine.
Yeah.
But that can't be. In fact, I would really like to see McDaniels, Ayo, Bones, SloMo, and who am I missing here?
Well, are you saying in a Gobert lineup or not a Gobert?
Not
lineup?
a Gobert.
So Nas or Julius?
Yeah, Nas. Yeah. That's a fast lineup. And that's SloMo running the court, but not being the lead.
Yeah.
SloMo being the secondary play. If the, whatever happens.
I think a positive externality of the Ant being out is you're going to have more opportunities to figure out,
expand roles to see how they fit.
Exactly. So as to then, they'll obviously be way scaled down
Right.
Come the playoffs, but maybe you find something that you feel like you can go to in the non-Ant minutes in the playoffs or whatever. And I mean,
Right.
we don't know anything about this Ant injury. It's
Right.
like, it's so,
Well, 1 to 2 weeks, they'll be evaluated in 1 to 2 weeks.
yeah. I mean, you're right. We do know that. I'm saying
I'm agreeing with you. The word evaluated, first of all, you're saying he might not be evaluated for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Evaluated.
Mhm.
And reports will be forthcoming when we evaluate him.
Right.
And inflammation in the knee is rough, for a basketball player,
Sure.
and the last 2 or 3 games Ant played, he was questionable for every game. He played every game. It, got to be the old, okay, he's really not going to sit. And I thought the last 2 were very obvious. Players get quasi hyperextended through the Sturm and Drang of the game where people are knocking into each other and stuff. Whenever it happened to Ant in those last 2 weeks,
Right.
he winced and walked it off. And that means that inflammation has been inflamed and inflamed and inflamed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for getting it to be not inflamed and getting him back to the version.
If he's
that
out
he is.
3 weeks, so be it.
Yeah.
I mean, you want him for the playoffs. If it means they're the 6 seed instead of the 4 seed, if he's healthy or a lot healthier,
Right.
it's worth it.
Do you see that Cade's out for
No.
That happened right before we started recording.
Wow.
Collapsed lung.
Huh?
Collapsed lung.
That is a huge good news for the Wolves. It's the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
They have 2 games with Detroit, and I will tell you that team really don't. I mean, their offense is gone.
Yeah.
When he's not on the floor.
Yeah. It's definitely good.
That
news
is
for the Wolves.
that,
And I hope Cade Cunningham.
that's worth at
is
least
okay.
1
Yeah.
win and perhaps 2.
Yes. Yeah. I tweeted
By
out
the
the
way,
same
how is
thing.
he?
Yeah. No, it was funny. I saw the news. I quote tweeted it. I was like, "Oh, Wolves play." And like 4 people in the comments were like, "You asshole!" Like even collapsed his lung. I'm like, okay, yeah. I was thinking about it through the
This
Wolves.
is a
lens.
Wolves-oriented podcast.
Yeah,
I mean,
as is my Twitter feed. But
Right.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fair. I collapsed lung is scary. But CJ McCollum had that. I mean, it's not the players have had that before. I think Cade is going to be back in 2-3 weeks, probably.
right.
The playoffs is as well. So good news for the Wolves there. And I don't know. We'll see when
What
Ant
would be
does come.
fascinating, if the Celtics catch them, they're 3.5 back or something like that. It's not that far back.
And you're not lying about that team looking so different when Cade's not out there.
Oh.
I mean, it is. They
He
do not
is a
have
regulator.
the Julius Randle.
He's Jokic-like for that team.
Yeah.
I mean,
he
in
is.
terms of the passes, he
Mhm.
scores.
Yeah.
He does everything. He sets up the offense.
The difference is the non-Jokic minutes suck at both offense and defense. The non-Cade minutes are still going to be really good
That's right.
defensively. And so, the Wolves will need to play, will need
Right.
to score.
Although the way Jokic is playing defense, it's almost a moot point.
Right, that team. That's well, maybe let's just close it on that. What did you say before? The standings are
Wolves in 4 now.
The Wolves are in 4, and Denver has
Denver's
fallen
down
to
to
6.
6.
I think what is going to happen, and I have no idea which of the 4 teams it's going to be between Houston, LA, Minnesota, and Denver, but one of those 4 teams is going to get to the postseason with the worst vibes. You know, that team that's in the 6th seed is going to feel like the Wolves felt 72 hours ago,
Right?
Or is going to feel like Denver feels like right now after that loss to Memphis, or somebody's going to be hurt from Houston or LA, or Houston was in a terrible situation like 3-4 weeks ago. Yep. LA, I mean, is playing really well now, but they've looked awful at different times. I think the 6th seed is going to stick of this group. It is going to be a real prize for who the team plays at. I have no idea who that 6th seed is going to be, but tracking these 4 teams closely,
right?
You know,
I
over
know
the
exactly
course, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
that's a whoever does pull off the 3, which the Wolves still have a chance to do.
That's
you
right.
know, I think you get an award of playing an injured or a dysfunctional team in the 6th.
Mhm.
It just feels like that's what's going to happen, and the Wolves might be that team at the 6th. You know, too.
Well, I mean, the Wolves have lost a lot of credibility with me because of what happened. And if I were covering the Nuggets as hard as I am the Wolves, I know that, you know, the beat writers and the national writers who look at the Nuggets have careened wildly.
Did you see Adam on Twitter last night, Maras?
No.
He was just like, I'm out on this team.
Mm.
You know, Adam,
right,
great NBA media person.
Right.
He is a Nuggets fan, so he's lets a little of that in there. But you know,
but see, the Grizzlies could do that to you. I mean, that's the thing. You know, Wells is a low-key destroyer of morale when he's guarding people and hitting open threes. He's a really underrated player.
I like him.
And Ty Jerome, I mean, they have some really interesting pieces that continue to play hard.
Yeah, they're not tanking
and
like
you look
Utah.
at their record and you think, all right, this is another one of those groups.
It's a good point.
You know, and they ambush you. And also, Jokic is, if Denver is 6th, I still don't want to face Jokic. I mean, and again, Aaron Gordon was on a back-to-back rest.
What I'm kind of talking about with
Watson's still not healthy. I mean, I know what you're talking about, and I agree with you. I also think that every team can convince themselves that it's a fresh slate. Here we go.
Unless they have injuries. Like part of the Denver thing I'm saying here is like, okay, Aaron Gordon is hurt again, or
and
Peyton Watson doesn't come back.
Both of those guys, if
they
get healthy, and I know I'm in a really distinct minority on this, but I do fear Houston. I mean, look at what the Clippers did to the Wolves that last game. All right, so you just sub in Amen for Dunn. And you sub, Chris Dunn. Instead, you have Amen Thompson. Instead of Kawhi, you have Kevin Durant. You know, you have these pieces that bedevil really, really strong, disruptive on-ball defender and a guy who just gets points no matter where they're from. And they play hard up and down the court. They have a coach that's a taskmaster. You got Sengun and Rudy. That's always a crazy matchup. Now, they do miss Adams, and I do think there are pieces that are up and down with that team. Yeah. But they are the team that gets less respect around the league, in my opinion, than they deserve. Their offensive rating is better than the Wolves, and it's because they offensive rebound so much that they extend possessions and eventually score. I get it. Their shooting percentage is terrible, but that is also demoralizing. I mean, when the Wolves don't get offensive rebounds 2 or 3 times,
defensive rebounds,
defensive rebounds, and their offensive rebounds are happening against them over and over again, it takes a little bit out of a team. You know, they go, oh, we're not trying hard enough or whatever. Yeah. Houston's a dangerous team.
I think we were doing this with the Lakers a couple of weeks ago, and I said to you, I was like, I feel like I need to watch the Lakers again. I hadn't watched them in a bit, and now I watch a lot of the Lakers.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks.
Defense.
Yeah, they are playing defense. But what I was going to say is, I feel like I need to watch Houston again. I don't think I've watched one of their games. I'll watch.
Well, and to be fair, they've had some clunkers too.
Yeah,
and and
all
the
four
Lakers,
of those teams.
And the Lakers
clunk.
beat them. They were up against the Lakers going into the fourth quarter and lost last night at home.
Oh, yeah, I'll probably watch that one. Yeah, that was literally last night, right?
Yeah, last night. So again, on the other hand, LeBron James is being carried by that team right now, from what I can see. Every time I watch it, you say you watched a lot of the Lakers. LeBron makes a lot of old man mistakes.
Well, the biggest thing I notice is it's just like pretty clear, and LeBron is just coming back from injury and that sort of thing, but it is very clearly like Doncic and Reeves at the pecking order.
Absolutely, as it should be. Yeah. And that's the thing, when you see LeBron decide to take one of those threes with 13 on the clock, or drive into a crowd thinking he's going to be able to get the whistle when he just doesn't have that step anymore.
Yeah.
And to see him on defense, you're absolutely right. And, they're better, when Rudy is out there, and maybe
Smart's playing.
I haven't looked at the numbers at all. So, I mean, it may be that you look at the numbers and, hey, LeBron's got a plus rating of 7.
Sure. Yeah.
But my eye test is it's going to be an awkward thing for them in the playoffs when push comes to shove. How many actual crunch time minutes can you give LeBron?
Well, I mean, I think he'll play, and he'll play. I mean, he'll be out there.
I agree.
The
Obviously,
third guy.
he'll play, but will he play to the status of,
I don't know. And maybe that's a good problem to have too, from their perspective.
If LeBron is able to swallow a phenomenal amount of pride.
Yeah.
First of all, he's an incredible professional. Secondly, he has a phenomenal amount of pride. Those things will collide.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting story to watch.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. And maybe again, I've seen, like, I usually surf on League Pass, so I don't see an entire game. But what I've seen over the last 3 or 4 or 5 times I've watched the Lakers, it always feels like, man, LeBron is not helping this team.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do need to watch more of the LeBron version of him. I was watching a lot of that Luka, and that Knicks
Reeves
game, Lakers Wolves game.
He's a guy you love to hate, but man, he is effective.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make this sound too hyperbolic, but there are some Shea similarities in, like, the way that he functions. Exactly. And some of it's the flopping and the drawing the contact and those, but effective. That's what we're talking about. Offensively, he's been extremely effective, but I do still stand by what I'm saying. I think for the reasons that we laid out with all those other 3 teams, and we've certainly tried to expose all the Wolves holes.
Right.
Like, one of these teams is going to step in a pothole these last 12 games and stumble their way into being the 6, or be a not even close to optimized version of themselves due to injury. Like, I really, it feels like that is going to come out. And then the 3 seed, whoever gets the 3 is going to benefit from.
And what I wonder is the shake-off effect, the ability for a team to say, that terrible string of losses 8 days ago doesn't matter.
And none of those 4 teams have shown to have that, like, discipline. Like, they get shook.
I know.
That. Yeah.
So,
as we know,
on the other hand, one of those 4 teams is a 3 seed.
Right. That's true. That's true. And so the other side of it is, like, one of these 4 teams is going to be hot the last 12 games of this season, and it's going to wind up as the 3. So, as you said a couple weeks ago, high drama around this team, and in the context of the teams that are around them. This is, I know everybody's watching college basketball today, but it's going to be, and over the next couple weeks, but this is going to be.
Yeah, they can all let me know how it goes.
Yeah, they will. We went really long, but this was good. God, we got to dig into just some of them. If people you missed the game or didn't watch the Wolves Jazz game last night, I hope you got a little bit of a idea of, where this team has been at in the 2 games without Ant. It was a Phoenix team that was exhausted, but an important game that they really took care of business. And then it was a Utah team that was not trying to win, but.
And who knows what we're going to get out of Portland. See, that's the crazy thing. I mean, Portland, nobody is in danger of losing their play-in status in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Grizzlies, who I think are 11th, are too far behind. So Portland is pretty much guaranteed to be in the play. And now what they're jockeying in, Phoenix is pretty much sewed up 7th too.
Yeah.
So it's 8, 9, 10, you know, and that's the Clippers, Portland, and Golden State.
Yeah.
And
Golden State stinks. So they could get the, I mean, Portland could get
Curry's
the 9.
not back. Yeah. So, you know, it's,
I don't know.
They're just hoping, you know, boom, Steph Curry.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Only 35 or whatever.
38.
Is he?
Yeah, right? I'm pretty sure.
It's
or 37,
entirely possible.
Yeah. All right, this is fun. You guys can read Britt over at MimPost. You can, he's a volume shooter on Twitter during games of
with questionable accuracy.
I just sit next to you. You're firing. You're getting your shots up there.
It's like a notebook.
Yeah.
You know, I look at my tweets before I write a column just to say, did I have a decent thought or not?
Yeah. This one, no.
So, that reminds me. That is something I thought was pertinent. Right.
Yeah. My thoughts, too, that go into a Google document are not always accurate in the moment either. But yeah, you guys can follow Britt there and on Blue Sky. And yeah, listen to him here on the show. You're going to Boston, this weekend for
it's going
the
to be
game.
weird if I'm the only guy.
No, Chris is going.
Oh, good.
I am
glad to hear. I don't want to be the guy. You know, first of all, you know, I'm age does make a difference in a locker room. I remember when I started covering this team, and I was in my 30s, and you know, it was a different vibe with players, and there are, you know, some guys who I've been around long enough and they've been around long enough. They know who I am, and generally they like the kind of questions. I have a decent relationship with them, but I don't have the natural connection that I used to have with a lot of players. So as a result, if I'm the only guy in there, they're going to look at me and go, all right, well, you know, they're not going to be enthusiastic about it.
I feel you on that. When I did that previous road trip, John was at one of the games, but I was the only reporter. I'm like, man, if this is,
well, and plus, it's not my deal. I'm not a beat writer kind of guy. I'm like an observational. I write once a week.
No, I made like a list of questions. Like I was normally.
And so I will if I'm the only guy there. You know, I mean, if
Chris is going to be there. Chris is going to be there.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, there you go.
Last time Chris and I were the only ones there. I wound up like helping transcribe interviews for him and stuff. For his notes, you know, I figure.
You also did this is way back, but you were at the Chris Paul jersey tuck game.
I was. That was great.
Which is so crazy because you don't travel that much during the regular season.
That was fun.
I remember that.
That was a Chris Paul. That was an all-time moment.
Yeah.
Chris Paul. Was it his nemesis who helped him out, Scott Foster? Was he the guy who made the ruling? I mean, I was there and I forget.
I don't know.
But I think it was Scott Foster. It was like two assholes converge on a hey, this is a way to fuck things
Jordan
up.
Bell, right? Wasn't it Jordan Bell with the jersey? Those were
See,
crazy times.
You weren't there and you remember better than I do.
I remember it specifically because I was on that road trip and I came home because my mom was having they were going to do a surprise birthday for my mom. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to not go to this game. And I'm like, all right.
You know what I remember most about that game was like in the first 4 or 5 seconds, Lou Dort like extended himself on like a 7-foot leap for a loose ball that almost had no chance. I mean, that was
rookie year, Lou.
And that's when I just thought, holy shit, that guy plays hard. I mean, that was an insane attempt.
It was.
I remember that more than other than I remember the great brouhaha over the Chris Paul ruling, and it cost him the game.
It did. And it felt like important at that time. That team ended up being really bad. I think they had like a winning record going into that. That was like
the back when they just started having logos on shirts, and I was thinking, boy, having that love thing by that truck stop thing, which seems really cheesy.
See, you remember. Don't remember who the official was, but no. Okay, we could keep talking forever, but I'll let you get back to your life. And for listeners, I think Kyle's coming to town next week, so we're gonna skip the Kyle pod tomorrow just because there's not another game to talk about. You got 90 minutes here with me and Britt today. But yeah, we'll be more Kyle next week, and then I think the next episode will be Monday. What is it? Friday they play Portland, and then they play on. Oh, and then the Sunday game. Yeah. So Jason and I will record off on Monday morning after the Wolves Celtics game. So I think that'll be the next show in your feed, and then we'll have a lot next week when Kyle's here. We'll get him back in the mix. But yeah, until then, he's Britt. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah. Hope you dancing like no